Health and Fitness with David Hollywood with the all-new Midlands Park Health and Fitness Club, midlandsparkhotel.com. Midlands 103.
Hello and welcome to this week's show. Let's have a look at what's coming up. We'll be joined by Tullamore's next Paralympic athlete. Josephine Healion talks about her life and her love of sport. You'll hear about the latest changes to Go Games to improve our children's experience of GAA, and we talk to the award-nominated Offaly breastfeeding support group, Ciudiú. Now, Vision Ireland have opened up a new store in Tullamore, new and improved, lots more space, plenty to see in its new location on Patrick Street. Ambassador for Vision Ireland is a Paralympic hopeful and Tullamore's Josephine Healion. She joins us now. Josephine, thanks so much for taking our call.
Yeah, no problem at all. Happy to chat away.
So Vision Ireland, the new stores just opened up on Patrick Street, and I understand they actually played an instrumental role in you getting into paracycling and tandem cycling.
They did, yes, very much so. I was introduced to tandem cycling as a youngster when I was, I don't know, about maybe 10, by as it was the NCBI, now Vision Ireland. But yeah, they basically gathered a few volunteers, and then it was just like a 6-week summer program where they just kind of got a bunch of visually impaired people together. And it just brought us as a community together, and then put us, doing an activity where each of us would kind of take turns on the back of a bike. Now, some people were there more for a social aspect. For myself and my sister, who was also with me as well, we were kind of nearly trying to, take people's goals, and we were like, are you going to go? Can I take your goal? So yeah, really enjoyed that. They were the ones that introduced us to that at a very kind of young age. And then I think that the program mightn't have been every year at tandem cycling. I think they've done kind of different things.
Sure.
And then I jumped back into it later on, then again at a later age of 19, I think it was.
When you're young and you're a young vision impaired person, to find a place to express yourself and to socialise like that, let's put the competitive side to the side for a second. How important is that?
Incredibly important. I think I like that in primary school at that level when I was quite young. I was definitely not so much academic, but massively enthusiastic about sport. And I was very lucky in the school I was in. They were an incredible staff there in Ciudiú and Tullamore, and they were just fabulous at, getting me involved in anything that they could, and kept it mainstream for the most part. I did lose touch with that a little bit in secondary school, and did feel a bit lost in that regard, and in sport in general. So it's massive to have that kind of outdoor integration, socialising, and all the tricks that come with it. You feel great after exercising anyways, and doing it with other people is just fabulous as well, and which is what has always kind of attracted me to tandem, because it's two people on a bike. So it's a fabulous thing to actually get involved in, and to be introduced to it at a young age is very important.
Yeah, the very concept of how the tandem cycling sport works really sounds like it can be so rewarding for you and your tandem cycling partner. You mentioned that you kind of came back to the sport a little bit later as you got a little bit older. Was Tullamore Cycling and Touring Club a big part of that journey as well?
Oh, massively. The Vision Ireland actually set up a meeting, so they were actually looking for volunteers to run this event that they had been previously doing, that where I first got involved. So they were actually looking for volunteers, and they invited anyone who was vision impaired to come to a meeting. And basically, if you had any interest in maybe chatting with a local club and seeing about maybe even becoming a member, then to come along. Myself, my sister came to this meeting, and we met with Tullamore Cycling Club there, and they were massively enthusiastic about getting us on board. At the time, they only had one tandem, and they had like a recumbent tandem bike, which is kind of where somebody's sitting down and pedaling, and then someone's at the back. I don't even. My sister rode that for the first time, but like that, they now have 2 brand new spanking bikes that they got last year, and they've been just massively supportive, not just for me, but for my sister as well, who does it more as a leisure. But like that, they've just been a huge incremental part in pushing me on and supporting me throughout my journey. And it's just fantastic that they were so incredibly supportive, and like that they've just been so consistently there throughout the last couple of years. So just, a huge shout out to them. They're massive supportive.
Yeah, I know they really do want to fly the flag for you whenever we're speaking to them as well. They're very proud of your achievements, and we'll kind of touch on that in a second, because it would have gone from, you learning about this sport and getting into it to really competing in it. When did the penny drop for you that this was something that you wanted to take as far as you possibly could?
Funnily enough, like that, I joined the club when I was 19. I'm now 28. So I more or less treated it as a summer sport while I was in college, just because college was so hectic and I struggled like that. I'm not the most academic person, so I definitely have to work hard to get results in when it comes to academic wise, and I just struggled through college. So I didn't really have a whole lot of extra spare time for the bike. So I kind of like that, treated it more or less for summer. And then I spent a little while traveling. I went to Canada for a little while. So I came back after 5 months and I got working at home here straight away. So I got a full-time job in Dublin. I was commuting up and down. There was really little very time I had to do anything leisure-wise. And I think it was really during COVID, I kind of said to myself, even though I hadn't really been cycling, I'd say 2 years maybe. So, but always missed it, and always, it was always there that, I'll come back to it. And during COVID, I got the opportunity to do that because I was working from home. I had a lot more spare time. And a guy in the club reached out to me and offered to take me out on a spin. And even at the time, we couldn't go like more than 5K. So we were checking in to make sure that, we were even able to do tandem cycling. So eventually just got back on board. And I think really in 2021, kind of word was spreading, and Fran Meehan, a local cycling legend, reached out to me and just kind of offered to kind of take me out on a spin just to see how I was and everything else. And she pretty much offered to coach me and kind of gave me so much information into how to get into competitive cycling. And she thought I had something and kind of was like, I'm willing to work with you. And that's really when I kind of started working towards that. At the time in my head, it was like a dream, Paris. Now it's very real. So that's when I suppose 21, I kind of started the winter of 21 is kind of when I started training. And then like that, I competed at my first World Cup in 2022. I got a World Championship bronze medal, myself and Linda Kelly, in Canada in 2022, which secured me onto the elite national team. So then I started that in January last year, and in March of last year I made the decision to stop working and go full-time at this, because Paris being such a short time away, I've only a certain amount of hours in a day to train, and so it's all go, but it's just been a whirlwind of an experience, but an opportunity I can't let go. So it's been fabulous.
When we return, Josephine tells us about how competing for Ireland is a dream come true.
Health and fitness with the newly refurbished Midlands Park Health and Fitness Club. Refresh your fitness journey with dedicated personal trainers on hand to help you achieve your goals. Find out more at midlandsparkhotel.com.
Midlands 103.
Imagine quitting your job and putting all of your heart and soul into a sport you love. It's what Tullamore's Josephine Healion has done. It's been a remarkable journey for the paracyclist.
Absolutely. Like that, I would have envisioned myself as as flying a flag someday. When I was a youngster, maybe I remember doing flags when I was in first class in school, thinking, oh, I'd love to represent the country at the games. Not obviously that, again, more than what you're saying, it was more of a fantasy. And like that, the real world kicks in. You go and you work towards a particular goal. In my mind, I was working towards making myself as employable as I can. And like that, nailing that and getting a job, and then realizing, actually, can I really go at this and give this my all? And it's been a huge learning curve, really, in a multitude of ways. And it's tested me in so many different ways, not just on the bike, but off the bike also. And it's it's huge. And I think sometimes I when I stop and look and think, I have really high expectations for myself. So I just have like the next thing or the next event in my head. But when I really do stop and take a step back, I'm just kind of like, oh, wow, okay, right. We really do need to be a bit more realistic about what I've done and where I've come in the last couple of years.
But it goes to show that you had the aptitude there in the DNA or in the mindset or whatever it was, because it's not like any of us could throw our legs over the bikes and drive these tandem bikes the way that you're able to do. What is full-time training like for you? What are the challenges as you build up to these Paralympic Games?
I suppose like that up until I started really training, my experience was really only ever out on the road. So like that, I wouldn't have any of the fancy equipment. I wouldn't have, power meters, things to measure different things. So I suppose, for me, going from, just getting on a bike and cycling it to, training in my shed with with high tech equipment, getting used to all of that, how it's measured, my heart rate, everything else that contributes to that, nutrition wise, physiologically wise, even headspace wise. We do have access to all of that with Sport Ireland, which is absolutely fantastic. So there actually is so much learning in it. And for me, I suppose the biggest thing was actually training on my own. Because the cycle and the bike, it's hours. You need to put in the hours in order to get faster. And it's just the way it is. It's just one of those sports. Time really has to go into it. So I train between 15 to 20 hours most weeks. I do 2 gym sessions. I actually am in the S&C here in town. I have a personal trainer to help me out with weight training, and then I do a gym session at home once a week, just core based stuff. But yeah, it's training on my own I found uncomfortable at the beginning almost. I suppose doing that in over 2 hours on a bike for some people is unimaginable. Even those that ride their bike on the road would say, oh, I would never be able to train on a turbo inside. So it's just one of those things, I suppose, that I had to adjust to getting used to. And I have done, and I actually do enjoy it. There are days I don't like it, but there are days I look forward to it. So yeah, that's probably been the biggest adjustment, is actually training on my own. But everything I do on my bike at home is recorded and uploaded to an app. So my coach has access to all of my files, all of my data, which is, it's really good that way that I can actually do that, because being visually impaired, sometimes things don't come very easily, like using different technologies. Even during racing, I actually don't see my watts, so my pilot has access to that. But I mean, when you're talking a time trial, they don't have the time to even look at mine, never mind their own. So yeah, it's quite it's an adjustment in itself, but it's fabulous. Like I definitely I still love riding my bike, which is just fabulous.
You're a testament.
Not everybody gets to do something that they love every day. So
no, exactly. And I think you're a testament to learning to navigate the challenges that you have with being vision impaired, and going beyond making the most of it, but actually making such a huge success of it. And it's really interesting to hear the professionalization of your relationship with cycling in a way. And it must be really motivating then to have these data markers that you're working towards. You're surpassing goals, you're working towards the overarching goal of competing in the Paralympics. And it sounds like, or it looks like, things are going on the right track. You were in Belgium last week, and I think you ended up in a top 5 position there at the UCI World Cup event. That sounds like, speaking from the outside, that you're on the right path when it comes to being able to compete at this world level.
Absolutely. Like every year, like I'm making progress. I still don't believe I'm anywhere near my ceiling. So it's quite exciting. Like that, I hit my a PB before actually going to Belgium. I hit my all-time 20-minute power. So I'm still making progresses, and even at the track world championships, I'm seeing numbers that I've never hit. So like it's just that's what really motivates me, is that I know I am on a kind of a thing, a linear progression, I suppose, of getting better. And I just want to keep improving myself, and I just want to kind of hit that where I just, to the point that I can just say, like, I've done and I've come to the best I can be. And with cycling like that, it's just one of those sports that do take time. So it's just like that. It's not like I've been chasing this for 8 years or 4 years. But it's incredible what you can do really when you put your mind to it too. So it's just fantastic that I'm still making progress. And like that, hitting a top 5 result at a World Cup is, in a Paralympic year is definitely on the right track of where we want to be going. So hopefully, all going well, we'll be in Paris, and that'll be just fabulous.
The difference between track and road, just from watching it on television and from knowing a few cyclists who've brought their racer onto a track, it sounds terrifying, frankly. Because it's just so much faster in so fast in such a small area. What's the experience like from your perspective, and just how different is it in terms of learning it like a new language, I suppose?
Absolutely, completely different. Like, I mean, first of all, you're on a fixed wheel bike. For those that don't know, there's no freewheeling. There's no freewheeling, there's no brakes. You slow the bike, you slow your cadence down. So you bring your pedaling to a slow, and then you come to a stop. So we would be traveling at, you're talking 50 Ks within a 250 meter track. So you're going quite at speed, and I suppose if you were to stand at the side in the bend and look down, you're almost looking directly straight down. So it's not, it's kind of terrifying, I suppose, to look at. You're like, oh, how does the bike even stay up there? But, you're traveling 55 kilometers an hour. That's how it stays up there. But like that, you have 2 people on a bike, you have to coordinate that. There's a lot of, for me, I'm very good at reading somebody's body language. I've pedaled with different people now, lots of different people now at this stage. So people have their own different body languages on the bike. You're starting from a stopped position. You're in a really high gear. So at the start, you have to like really put a lot of effort into getting the bike up to speed, because with tandems, it's all about getting the bike up to a high speed and then maintaining it as quickly as possible. With a solo bike, they're a bit more, it's a bit like a Yaris, you press down, you're gone flying. The tandem is more like a lorry. It takes a while to get it moving, but once it's up and running, it's there for days. But that's kind of the effort level that goes into getting it up to speed. There's a lot, some people are kind of, they kind of have a shorter, sharper power source. Some people don't have access to that. So it's just learning that. I have a kind of a really good capability for the track. So like getting the bike up to speed, I have that high peak watts that can just push it out of the gate. Some people find that quite daunting, even the beeping in the gate, because it's clamped on your back wheel, and it starts to beep out 6 beeps before it goes. It lets the wheel go, and if you don't push, you're falling over. So you really do have to just jump out of the gate and be in the best optimal position to get that power out and just get the bike up to speed. But it's a very short effort. Like we have the kilo, and then we have the 3K pursuit. So the kilo is just literally 1K, so it's 4 laps. So it's basically all out, whatever you got. And probably you'd be nearly falling over after the effort. It's that kind of like everything's out there. The 3K pursuit is a bit more measured, but it's still a very high energy, very high kind of intensity. So you just have to push as hard as you can for 3K, but not overdo it that you can't do the last 4 laps. So it's a tricky one to balance, but it's about just learning and understanding it, I suppose. And I've kind of gotten more of a feel for it this year than last year. Last year I was a bit more unfamiliar with it. I think we only got something like 10 days before doing the World Championships last year on track. So this year we had a bit more time, and definitely learned a huge amount in that length of time as well. Even just about Linda and how she delivers her power and how we settle into a rhythm. And it's completely different to road, completely different.
Yeah, I suppose it really helps to keep the whole sport fresh for you as well, that you get such different changes in environment between the two. A final question then, Josephine, you've been great with your time and I much appreciate it, is just the small question of objectives this year. the Paralympic Games coming up at the end of the summer. Talk to me about what you're working towards personally in your own mind and within Team Ireland. What do you want out of this year?
I suppose to get to the games and be as competitive as possible, really. I suppose my own strength it would be the road race. That would be the event that I would prefer, and it's one that I really enjoy. And we've proven last year, that we've been very successful in it. And it's just, I suppose, personal goals, objections wise. I just want to be, ticking every box that I can, whether that's nutrition, staying on top of that, making sure that my training is being completed as best to my ability as possible, and just kind of hitting all the markers that I can. And just like that, I am progressing and I'm still progressing, but I still want to continue that throughout the year and even through to Paris. And like that, hopefully medal at a Paralympic Games will be just like a dream. So as close to that as I can get, that's the goals for this year anyways.
Well, I know Vision Ireland are very proud to have both yourself and your sister Jennifer Healion there to open up their new store on Patrick Street in Tullamore today. And I know Tullamore Cycling Club equally proud. And I'm going to speak for the rest of the county and the region as well in that respect. We look forward to watching how the championships go over in Paris and all of the build-up. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate that.
Next on Health and Fitness, Shane Keegan joins us to talk about Go Games.
Health and Fitness with the newly refurbished Midlands Park Health and Fitness Club. Take the plunge in a new routine with our swimming pool, plunge pool, jacuzzi, sauna and steam room. For more, visit midlandsparkhotel.com.
Midlands 103.
Now, in Ciudiú Offaly and Westmeath, GAA Go Games are up and running across the Midlands. A initiative from the GAA that really prioritises participation over competition and bringing children together to enjoy each other's company in a healthy and active way. I'm very glad to say that Shane Keegan is the head of coaching and games with Laois GAA, joins us on Health and Fitness this evening. Shane, thanks for taking our call.
No problem at all, David. Thanks for having me on.
So the Go Games, parents all across the country will be familiar with them, of course, and they're a huge part of what the GAA does now. I understand that from a Laois GAA perspective, some tweaks and some changes have been made to try get the best out of them for this season or this year. You might talk us through it.
Yeah, no problem at all, David. I suppose the key thing here is that it comes on the back of the clubs being excellent in terms of engaging with us at the end of last year's Go Games programme. I think we all knew the Go Games programme last year went very, very well by and large. But that said, there's always areas and room for improvement. So we sent out an end of season document to seek feedback from all the clubs, and it was amazing the amount of responses we got back from it, where we literally just asked them what had worked well and what did they feel hadn't maybe worked well and any suggestions they had. So look, that was the starting point for everything. Look, in terms of the feedback, not everybody will be saying the same thing, obviously. So therefore, you can't please all of the people all of the time, and it'd be silly to think you could. But yet, we definitely got some fantastic ideas back on the back of that. So I suppose the key things we've tried to do, David, is be very stringent around the amount of playing numbers we want on a pitch and the size of those pitches. We're very quick to pat ourselves on the back, maybe sometimes that in Go Games we make sure that everybody gets on the field and everybody gets a chance to play. But being on the field and actually being in possession of the ball can be two very, very different things. And I suppose the fear was that when we go with, 11 aside at under 9, for example, or 15 aside at under 11, that some of the slightly more peripheral players who maybe aren't the standout players in their teams, they might be on the pitch, they might be involved in the game, but are they ever actually on the ball? And if they're not, well then we're doing something very, very wrong. So the key thing there for us, David, was to try and make sure that the playing numbers in terms of the amount of players on each team was a lot smaller and that the pitches were a lot smaller, with the simple hope that it means that every player ends up in possession of the ball multiple times within their playing time. So to give you a broad outline, we're looking for ideally 9v9 at under 11, 7v7 at under 9 and 5v5 at under 7. And look, the feedback from the first couple of weeks is that by doing so, it seems to be a really, really enjoyable experience. And most importantly, everybody seems to be extremely involved.
the changes, it must be exciting from your perspective to have gone to the clubs, to have gotten the feedback, to have implemented what you think are globally or overall the best and most desirable changes, and to think then what Go Games could do for not just kids in GAA who are grown up into their teens and that type of thing, but for maybe those who do leave GAA down the line, but they've had that foundation of activity and social sport and that type of thing. Like, we don't know what the benefits are today, but if Laois and other counties get this right, it could be far-reaching.
100%, David. And look, it's I suppose the good thing here is that the stories we were getting back in our feedback anecdotally matched up with the academic research. There is hard and fast academic research out there. In fact, at the forefront of that academic research is a Laois woman in Anya McNamara. She's been massively involved in the Go Games research around how we can provide the best possible experience for kids. And brilliant to see she's actually expanding her research. She's coming to our Féile games this weekend, our Féile football games this weekend. They're now progressing that research up onto the competitive age group, so 13 to minor, which will be brilliant to see what results are come out of the research that they're about to engage in. So yeah, look, as I say, it was just, I suppose, trying to get as close to best practice as we possibly could. I mean, another couple of things that we've done is one of the challenges that we have with Go Games is that they're 2-year blocks, obviously. So we're 7, 9, 11, and it can be very, very difficult for a young player in the first year of their 2-year block. So again, all we've asked there is that the clubs, again, anecdotally, speaking to people, they would say whichever the home club is, they kind of decide whether the teams are going to be split evenly or whether they'll go olders on one pitch against each other and youngers on the other. We're just trying to take away that kind of grey area. And we're saying hard and fast, we want the older kids on one pitch playing against each other. We want the younger kids on the other pitch playing against each other, so that, again, hopefully everybody is matched up against somebody of a reasonably similar standard based on their age. And again, that seems to be working quite well by and large. Asking for the player who's fouled to be the person who takes the free. I think that's another great one. Yourself, the dominant players can end up taking every sideline cut and every free and every penalty and everything. So we're saying, listen, whoever is fouled, can we get them back up on their feet as quickly as possible? The other thing, David, is if they're on the ground and they hear that it's their free to take, they might be a bit quicker to get up as well. You know yourself how that works. But again, just giving everybody a chance to take the frees, and stops us having to bring a player 30 yards back from where he's standing to come down and take the free because he's the best free taker.
That seems like a really big thing, Shane, though, because I think a lot of us can relate to watching the stars of the team take the free kicks and have the important moments and ultimately becoming the main character in games, from the moment you go into primary school to the moment you get out of secondary school, for instance. So to embed this at a young age, to also take the kind of stigma or pressure out of being a free taker and make it a far more normal thing, that's another thing that could have a big impact, and it's a very small adjustment.
Absolutely, David. And the thing to factor in there is those stars will still emerge. These changes will not stop those stars from emerging. The players that are that bit ahead of the rest, they will still enjoy this experience as much as anybody, and they will still go on to fulfill their potential and still become our underage and hopefully in the future our senior stars. It won't slow down their development in any way, shape or form. It will just mean that others will get a little bit more opportunity to experience being in possession of the ball as well. So not for a minute are we trying to slow down the growth of those standout players. That will happen naturally for them anyway,
And the overarching intention here is to maintain that non-competitive element, and obviously kids are going to compete plenty enough by themselves, but the reality is if you can kind of put a modifying effect around this time, it's a healthy approach.
Yeah, look, there was a lot of kind of media furore when the GAA came out and reiterated their stance around non-competitive all the way up as far as under 12. Reality is here, David, is those kind of rules and regulations around it being non-competitive are not aimed at the players. The players will always be competitive, and nobody should ever be trying to remove the competitive spirit from the players. Those guidelines are aimed at the parents and aimed at the coaches, because the most well-meaning coach in the world, when they're told that it's non-competitive, they're pretty relaxed about things and they're fairly kind of straight down the line, and we all behave in a normal manner. And then, unfortunately, as soon as you enter in that, if you lose, you're out, and if you win, you're through to the next round, or if you win, get your 2 points. If you lose, the most sane people in the world turn into lunatics. So they do, David. Me included at times. And that's why, for all of us, it's just trying to remove that pressure on the coaches to feel that there's a need to win a game or anything like that, and allow us all to behave in a slightly more sane manner.
I mean, I can't underestimate, or I don't think we can underestimate how important it is that parents and coaches find a way to comport themselves in a way that's befitting of a role model to kids that young. And as you said, it's not just GAA necessarily, but by the same token, it really happens in GAA. The composure, and for whatever reason, obviously people care so much about it and invest so much emotion in it instinctively, but things go completely over the top too quickly, and the people who'll be impacted are the ones who are looking up to the adults on the sideline.
100%, David, and like you said, this is absolutely all sports, so it is, and it's all of us. We're all guilty of getting sucked into that mentality. Look, my young fella had an under-10 soccer cup semi-final last weekend. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that there's competitive soccer at that age group, and it was probably one of the first competitive games they'd had all year, and you just saw the atmosphere change. The kids were crying at the end of the game. I'd never seen any kids crying all year up until this point. Kids were crying at the end of the game. The coaches and the parents were getting overly wrapped up in it. It's just what happens. So it's a no-brainer just to remove that for another couple of years until everybody's a little bit more equipped to deal with it.
Final point on the Go Games, regs change, as it were. My understanding of the Go Games is that not that it was elective, but that these the rules around Go Games sometimes had been flexible in certain jurisdictions and that type of thing. But Laois GAA very much want these new rules to be followed.
Yep, that's it. Look, I suppose the line they come out with on it, David, is that it had been recommendations. It's now regulations. And look, there's only been, thankfully, over the first couple of weeks, there's probably only been 2, maximum 3 phone calls that have had to be put into clubs to say, listen, we've noticed that you haven't been following the regulations that we've asked for. And in almost all cases, it was maybe just a little bit of a misunderstanding as to what we were asking for. And I think those clubs have corrected what we were looking for. Look, there's a little bit of a using the stick a small bit, I suppose, just to get everybody to fall in line and give this a try. For me, we have some fantastic experiences that we do for the players in here in O'Moore Park and in the Centre of Excellence, and basically, I have had to say to clubs, listen, we would imagine everybody will tie in with these regulations, but if you don't, well, then there's a very simple outcome here. You won't be invited into the O'Moore Park experience. You won't be invited into the Centre of Excellence experience, and I will have to stand by that, because you want to reward the clubs that are doing everything that they can. But the big thing here too, David, is normally the Go Games fixtures would come out for the entire summer. We've only brought them out for the first half of the summer, for the simple reason that we want to survey everybody again at the end of the first block of them. So I'm only asking people to follow these regulations up until the end of June. By the end of June, I'll get the feedback all over again. Some of the stuff I've looked to work on will be working a dream. Some of the stuff won't work. And I have absolutely no problem on rolling back on 1 or 2 of the things that aren't working, if that's the feedback as well. And then we'll go again for July, August, September.
Shane, tell me this: how long have you been in this head of coaching in games role at Laois GAA now? It's in and around a year, just over a year?
You're bang on, yeah, just over a year. I came in the weekend of the hurling Féile last year, David, and we had our hurling Féile there about 2 weeks ago. So yeah, just over a year. Okay,
how are you finding it so far? Looking back on the last 12 months then, is it what you expected? Is it more? I imagine it's a bit of both, really.
Yeah. Look, loving it by and large. Absolutely loving it. There's a serious workload in it, that's for sure. But we're a big, huge help on this, David, as well, is that we've got a fantastic team in place now. I think we had only maybe 3 GPOs a year ago. We're up to 8 GPOs now, and some fantastic stuff in-house in terms of the GDCs as well. And even branched out a bit further, we got extremely lucky with 3 interns that we took on placement from UL. All 3 of those have been absolutely outstanding in terms of helping us, particularly around our schools program. We now have a weekly presence in every single primary school in the county that has entered Coming a Month School, and the interns have played a huge role in helping us achieve that as well. So look, you hate to ever equate yourself too much to politics, but the a lot done, a lot more to do line seems fairly apt for where we're at the moment, you know.
Well, look, I think whilst, like you said, you don't ever want to equate it to politics, dealing with people is politics. That's the nature of it. And, it sounds like you've got a handle on how to bring all the stakeholders in the county together to ultimately to try serve the younger generation as best you can. So we thank you for joining us on Health and Fitness as ever, Shane, and keep up the good work.
No problem at all, David. Thanks a million.
Ciudiú Offaly are leading the way on breastfeeding support. Their chairperson is going to be in studio next.
Health and Fitness with the all-new Midlands Park Health and Fitness Club with fitness classes to suit everyone. Experience the warmth at 30 degrees in our dedicated spin studio. Discover all this and more on midlandsparkhotel.com.
Midlands 103.
The Friends of Breastfeeding Awards ceremony is taking place this week, and I'm very glad to say that joining us to look forward to it is the chairperson of Ciudiú Offaly, Yasmin El-Kirshi. Yasmin, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, David.
You're joining us, aside from your expertise on the issue, on the basis that Ciudiú Offaly have been nominated and represented in a couple of award categories, which is fantastic. So you might first run us through what the awards that Ciudiú Offaly and your members are up for.
Yeah, so we're actually up for breastfeeding support. So Ciudiú Offaly is up for Breastfeeding Support Group of the Year. And actually there's another local interest there as well, because Portlaoise, La Leis League Portlaoise is up for the same award. They do a lot of stuff with extended breastfeeding, so that's great too. And then in addition to that, we actually have two of our members were part of the breastfeeding media features of the year. And so Carolina Van Au, she is a founding member of Ciudiú Offaly, and she was involved with Farmers Journal on their piece on breastfeeding in the farming community.
Okay.
Yeah, and another committee member, Fiona Duncan, she was involved with the Irish Examiner on their piece on breastfeeding takes time, patience and support.
And Ciudiú Offaly not even 2 years old.
Yeah, we are, and we started in August 2022, the very end of August, and we thought nobody would show up to our first meeting, and now look at us, we're up for an award.
Literally flying it. Ciudiú Naas are also nominated in that support group of the year, along with the Extended Breastfeeding in Ireland's Facebook group, Breast Friends Belfast. Now, talk to me about why Ciudiú Offaly are up for this award and what it is that you guys do that's getting recognition. Yeah,
so firstly, it's a nominated award, so people have to nominate us. So people have written in, and I've got some of the feedback back from the nominations and what people said when they nominated us. And a couple of things that they said was that we're very welcoming, that there was nothing here in Offaly before that, but also a huge part of it was that because we work very closely with Patricia Martison, she's our public lactation consultant here in Offaly Laois area, and she actually was nominated last year as IBCLC of the year, so she's also a nominee. And because we work so closely with them, actually we have the breastfeeding rates in Offaly are really, really good, to be honest, David.
Okay, well, have you got numbers off the top of your head? I expect that you do. You always do.
I do. So basically from the women who have left hospital that are continuing to from the women when they leave hospital up to the 3-month mark in Offaly, it's 100%. So that's whether partially breastfeeding or exclusively breastfeeding.
Brilliant.
So that's huge, yeah.
That's really phenomenal.
Big deal. And even if you look at the overall figures, so at 3 months, we'll say nationwide, you'd have about 43%, either partially or exclusively breastfeeding. And in Offaly, we'd have about 55%. So across the board, our numbers have really come on and are really high. Now, bear in mind, we were a very low breastfeeding rates county before.
But it goes to show that when the right support is in place, then people can get behind doing this, and culturally and socially we're getting to a better place with the statistics on breastfeeding. Yeah, and I think it's really nice for all the women that come to our groups to see other people that are breastfeeding as well. And I notice at the minute we have a lot of women that had babies during COVID, and so they didn't get that whole experience. Now they're on their second baby and they're there and they're coming out and they're getting to come out and meet other breastfeeding mothers, which they didn't have that opportunity during COVID. So it's really nice. It's such a big part of of being supported is actually physically, socially having the support in that respect. When do you find out if you've won?
So the awards are on Saturday, so tomorrow, and so we'll know. I don't know what time on Saturday, but we're really looking forward to it. All of the committee are going. We're so excited.
Big day out then.
Massive day out, I can't tell you.
That's class. Now, I'm going to go on to all the other cool stuff that's happening around Ciudiú Offaly. But first, it's a point someone brought up with me recently when they were listening to one of our conversations on health and fitness before, and it's to speak to the idea that celebrating breastfeeding is really important, and it's great. But there's many new mothers out there who, for whatever reason, they can't, and they do struggle with it. And that's the other side of the coin here as well. It's not a straightforward choice between do I agree with it or not, therefore I'll do it. There's so much involved in it. Yeah,
absolutely. I think just like across the board, and I think that's something that's really important to say, David. Like if you come to our meeting, I don't know what people expect, but I think it's very different to what they expect because one, we completely understand that breastfeeding is hard. I personally had massive issues trying to breastfeed, so we understand. We're all about supporting people for where they are and their own goals. That's a big thing, and that's something that we would talk about a lot in our meetings and all that kind of stuff. It's up to people on their own goals. So that's our whole thing. And like you say, sometimes it's not a straightforward line. There's all kinds of issues that can come up. It's very different, for example, to formula feeding. That doesn't mean one is better. I'm not even saying that one is better than the other, but it's just different. And so one of the things actually that we're working on is that because we have there's a lot of research done on how grandparents are really important actually in the breastfeeding journey.
Sure. And they're so important
in the parenting journey.
Absolutely.
I think,
and they revel in it as well, don't they?
Oh yeah. I have to say, I know from my own mother, David, like she is just delighted. She said, "Oh, you never listened to me before you had children and now you come and ask me for advice all the time."
But it's revelatory as an adult child to have your own child. You then look at your experience with your parents through a new lens. It's so educational.
Oh my gosh. I look at my own parents completely in a new way since I had children, so I think that's amazing. But I think also one of our plans within Ciudiú Offaly, and bear in mind that we're a small organisation, we aren't yet 2 years old, but like we are planning to do some education with some grandparents as well to help them, because that generation really didn't breastfeed. It just wasn't done in Ireland. There's a story that I've heard that a woman was in hospital and after the birth she was given a big kind of chunky pill, and she said, "What is that?" And they said, "Oh, that's to stop your milk coming in." And so this is what would have happened years ago back in hospitals almost directly. So you have a full generation there really that didn't breastfeed.
And you've got, I'm sure, the appetite amongst grandparents to not only be on hand to help, but to help in the way that their children want their child to be raised.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one. I think with any, even as an adult child with your parents now, you're going, okay, that's how you did it. This is how I want to do it. And I think it's amazing because obviously things have changed. The education and the science behind all that has changed, and it's become so. Like there's so much more information available to us now. So I think it is great. And you're right, like people do want to help. And I think especially, David, with childcare the way it is, like more grandparents are helping than probably ever before, I would think.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well. And it's worth underlining as well that no matter how well read and informed we are today, our children, if and when they have children, will admonish us for the mental damaging things that we did. And it's just you work with the information as best you can that you have at the time. You do your best. It's all you can do.
Yeah, and I think that's why organisations like ours are important, because we're just supporting you. We're not telling you what to do. We're not, whatever. We'll give you the evidence as it stands. But you're right, of course. And everything we'll have done will be wrong to our children, and that cycle will always continue. We just do our best. That's all we can do.
It's great fun. Okay, so Ciudiú Offaly, they're looking at grandparents and how they can help support them through education and support. But there's plenty more going on. We were chatting just before we went on air about this initiative in a library, which I really like the idea of. Tell me about this. Yeah,
so actually Offaly Library and Ciudiú Offaly have worked together, and we've actually come up with a list we gave them a list of breastfeeding books. So now they have them in the library. So there's a full library now of breastfeeding books. So whether that's at the start of your journey, if you're thinking about breastfeeding, if you're in the middle of breastfeeding, if you want to extended breastfeed, you know, all that kind of thing. So they have a full library on that, and anybody can order them from anywhere in the country. And it's just, can I just say how great it is of Offaly Library to support us like that and to work with us.
Credit to them for that.
Yeah. And also they will be running a training session with a lactation consultant during the summer.
Wow, okay, so they're really they're jumping into it with both feet, as it were.
And they're one of our locations for our meetings, so they're really helping out.
Supporting the supporters in that respect. And then Ciudiú Week's coming up.
Yeah, Ciudiú Week is next week, so that is great. So if you check out our social media at Ciudiú Offaly, you'll see lots of moms share their breastfeeding stories. So that's really nice to see. I have to say we did the same thing last year, and it was so nice, David, because everybody, you kind of touched on it earlier, everybody's story is different. And some stories are just, they seem like incredible feats that the mother has even managed to breastfeed, to be honest. And some are straightforward, and we need to see both sides of that. Like, everybody's story is important and unique. And also then, just slightly outside of Ciudiú Week, because that's the way things work, but it's part of Ciudiú Week, on the 22nd of May, we are having a birth reflections evening. And that is a big thing from Ciudiú, is that we do these, Ciudiú got funding recently to train birth reflection counsellors. And so the whole ethos behind that is that, you know, birth is like anything. It can go to plan and it can go extremely not to plan. And I think this is for any women that want to come. It's very private. It's not a big group. It's very confidential. And you can go and you can speak through your birth experience, because some women really have had traumatic birth experiences and want support with that.
No better people, in my opinion, than to provide that support. And the very best of luck for the Friends of Breastfeeding Awards on Saturday, tomorrow. You'll keep us posted on how you get on. But I suppose a massive congratulations to everyone who's been nominated. And it sounds like it'll be a lovely day out.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yasmin, thanks. That's our lot for this week. Thanks for joining us. Joe Cooney, and Country Roads is after the news. Talk to you soon.